So my name is Susan. I'm the mother of a 17-year-old girl, Sophie, who has cerebral palsy, and a 13-year-old boy, Finn, who is on the autism spectrum and has some mental health issues. So for many years I was just involved in their clinical care as their carer, I guess as their mum. A couple of years ago I was approached by a senior research fellow at Melbourne University just to tell Sophie's story, which I did. And from there, a research project, which was in its infancy, was discussed, and the researchers at Melbourne Uni decided that they would like to look at supporting the mental health of parents of children with disability. And what they wanted to do was make it effective. They wanted something that was really going to have impact. So they asked a number of parents and carers if they would like to form part of a parent and carer engagement group. They asked me if I'd like to be involved, and although I had some hesitation about being involved in research as I saw it to be not particularly relevant to me or to the lives of the kids, I embraced it. I decided to go with it. The parent and carer engagement group then shaped the research, and we spent a lot of time meeting. It was just a delightful experience to actually have some influence over the direction in which the research should head. There was the study was made up of interviews and questionnaires. Our engagement group had a lot of input into the appropriate questions to ask parents and carers of the kids. And I felt that it was a really effective tool in the end. I was then involved as an interviewer talking to service providers about their capacity to support the mental health of parents and carers of these children with disability, given what we knew from the interviews with the parents. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life because I was involved, and it was about people like me, and it was to help people like me. So my delight with being involved in the parent and carer engagement group didn't end with just the research. I was then asked if I would like to present the findings of the research at an international conference in Stockholm, which I did. It was a conference on childhood disability. So off I went, and I didn't co-present, I presented the research on my own as a parent, which was quite groundbreaking. Given the context of it, it was a scientific and research conference, so there was no other parents, presenting. The conference was very interested. The material was quite confronting, and although it had a lot of power being presented by a parent, I guess my proudest moment was being able to set out the tangible steps also that we'd taken. So it wasn't just about the research results, but what was happening as a result of that. So making tangible improvements to parents' life, which was great. As a general comment on the conference, I think it was disappointing in the sense that people with cerebral palsy and their families were invited to attend the conference, but the conference venue wasn't completely accessible. There was a lot of talk about fixing people with cerebral palsy, children and adults, and not about empowering and supporting. How do we get the best out of the lives? What do people with cerebral palsy, what do kids want? What do their families want? What is going to support them in their lives to get the most out of their life? And there really wasn't a focus on what would be meaningful to improving the lives. So at the opening ceremony of the conference, the theme song was Coldplay's I'll Fix You, and that was quite offensive to a lot of people because so that was quite confronting to a lot of the people, the attendees there, who had CP or who were parents of children with CP, because it's not about fixing, it's just about how can we support and empower. In terms of the presentations and the material that was presented, that too was slightly disappointing. There was a great chasm, I felt, between the reality of people that live with cerebral palsy and the research that was being done around cerebral palsy. The two didn't necessarily connect. So I think we can do a lot more on authentically engaging the people for whom we're trying to improve their lives, or through research, it needs to be meaningful to those people. So at a time when competition for the research dollar is becoming ever more fierce, I think it's really important that we get the most out of our research. We need to engage authentically with our patients. We need to do things differently so that people benefit in a real way. So how do we how do we engage and scale up for parents' benefit? I think we need to, really bring into the fold and engage at the shaping stage patients, parents of patients, people who are affected, whose lives are affected by the subject matter that is, potentially the source of a research project. I think when I speak to older people with, for example, cerebral palsy, it's very interesting to have a conversation about what would have changed their lives. And I think that's almost the litmus test. Will this change someone's life? Will they look back in 20 years or 10 years and say, that was a moment that changed my life? And I think that's really important. I think for someone who was a research skeptic and having experienced the power and the joy of being involved in a project that can potentially change the lives of parents and support parents like myself, I would really encourage other parents to become involved or patients to become involved, because it's a powerful exercise in having a say about your future or the future of generations, that follow you with perhaps similar, challenges, health challenges, whatever it may be. It's really worthwhile doing. And I think from an organisational perspective, valuing that patient or that consumer voice in order to get the best possible outcomes to really benefit lives, I think that's going to be key. It's going to be confronting, it's going to be difficult at times, but I think it's worthwhile doing in order to really progress and get the most out of our research dollar. It's a good thing to do.
Thanks for listening to Susan's story. If you would like further information about Monash Partners or Susan and the work she does, please contact Gillian Chamberlain on 03 8572 6267 or email Gillian at gillian.chamberlain@monash.edu, and that's Gillian with a G. Thanks very much for listening. Bye for now.